Hi, I'm Jason Gore for ThatShelf.com, and we're here to talk about Charlie Plonger's The Plague, playing here at the Cannes International Film Festival.
Shelf.
So, yeah, welcome to nonsense. So here we are outside the Debussy. All these people behind me are lined up just so they could see somebody like Scarlett Johansson walk by, because celebrities are important, and a fundamental part of this festival. But it's interesting the people who just line up for hours and hours and hours just to potentially see somebody walk by, not even up the red carpet. It's a whole thing. I go to movies. That's my thing to do. And one of the movies I saw, I guess a couple days ago now, I'm very busy. A couple days ago now is I saw The Plague, which the description seemed like it was a little bit intriguing, but this is one of those classic Cannes films for me. Something, there's no way I had heard anything about it. I had no expectations. This is a film I hadn't even considered before I arrived in France. I just thought, I don't know, I like the sound of it. I like Joel Edgerton a lot. He's a super smart actor who shows up in amazing films and works with some really interesting directors. I mean, I am lunatic for his portrayal in Loving. He's such an extraordinary performance in a film that I think is greatly underappreciated. So yeah, he and about a bunch of kids at a water polo camp, and things sort of go wrong. It's sort of a bullying story. And then I watched the film, and it's interesting. It's set in 2003, so sort of a pre-cell phone age, but still a time where kids would be kids and be absolute pricks. And it was funny, I was speaking to a couple other critics, some of whom are parents, who are like, oh yeah, you could never get away with this at camp anymore. But in a funny way, as horrifying as this film is, in terms of its injection of bullying and all of those elements, compared to my experience, shocking, I know, but compared to my camp experience in a funny way, this is almost tame. But all of that is to say that it is, I don't love horror movies. I've said this before. I love, they don't work for me. People who just love the genre elements just all come together. That's what they look for, this sort of shtick. But films that truly are horrific, films that get under your skin and actually make you crawl because of the realism, not the supernaturalism about it, really affect me. And The Plague is one of those films. It is really, really well done. The child performances are phenomenal. And yeah, it's as a first-time film, it gets a little bit sort of stuck in the weeds at times. It sort of beats its central conceits, as it were, a little heavy-handedly. It's a weird metaphor for a bullying movie, but you know what I mean. But when it all plays out, you really, truly have this extraordinary story of how there's nothing more cruel than the bullied who becomes the bullier. Again, something I can speak to from personal experience. There's something about right at the stage of adolescence where kids, boys, are growing into manhood, are sort of swinging weird hormonal shifts at the best of times, but just coming to terms with large groups of individuals, especially when they're the outsider coming in. And as I said, in some ways this could be a documentary, is how effective this all worked out. It is really, really hard to stomach, and yet not because it's hard to watch. It's a very engaging film. It's a film that totally works, draws you in, makes you feel entirely every moment of what's going through. Beautifully shot, exquisitely photographed, and because it's a sports camp, it gives a dynamism of just like a regular everyday summer camp. I always say that my camp experience is like Wet Hot American Summer, except not a comedy, like a full-on horror movie. And in a funny way, this film sort of definitely captures that sort of sense of just kids being terrible to other kids, grouping up. It very much feels, I mean, there's Lord of the Flies, which we all know. I mean, that's sort of the extreme vision of when an entire society is created that way. But the biggest allusion that I can actually make to this is the opening of Full Metal Jacket. So picture Full Metal Jacket at a water polo camp. The first 45 minutes, the actual training camp vision with the hazing and all that stuff. And that's really what you get from this film. And then you're like, why would I want to watch something? Why would I want to watch something like this? Well, because it is extraordinarily well done cinema. Egerton is great. I mean, he really, when he's there and is absolutely sort of this force of almost paternalism as the coach figure, he's great. But when he's not effective, he's equally effective, if that makes any sense. It's an actor who's believably in charge and believably not in charge. And it's a real fine line, and he manages to skate it brilliantly. And then you have these, again, phenomenal kid performances. None of them feel two-dimensional. None of them feel like some sort of like riff on, a billion other teen movies that you've seen before. It really feels that they completely connected and engaged with the stuff the way it should. And it just works so brilliantly. Absolutely one of the breakthrough films for me at this year's festival. The Plague it gets under your skin, literally, as per what happens to the characters. It is a reminder about how cruel we can be to each other when we're growing up. A reminder of just how this dynamic can play out, and just a recognition through drama that just like, White Ribbon comes to mind. All these other films that have touched upon a sort of fine line between the sort of playfulness of childhood, the ignorance of childhood, frankly, the innocence is a better word, and what would come about during just before the high school years. Clearly, triggering is the wrong word, clearly reminiscent of a lot of stuff that many of us went through. But it's not like I like the film or respond to the film because it sort of reminds me of stuff that happened to me. It is that the film is so exquisitely realized that you're drawn into this world, and in this world is shown is such an extraordinary way of seeing human interaction in a true dramatic sense, and one that is so rare. You're not being swept up simply by the visuals. You're not being swept up by any melodrama. You're not even swept up in the moments of violence. You're actually swept up in these really subtle moments of character that really makes this swim. The Plague, one of the great breakthroughs here at Cannes 2025. For thatshelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Please subscribe, like us on social media, do all that stuff. We'll see you next video. All the best. Take care.